Hello and welcome back everyone. Today we're going to continue our mini series of tutorials covering the new crops in FS22. Today we're going to look at greenhouses. So today we're going to look at greenhouses and the various crops and fruit associated with those. We've got this little patch of grass outside the farmhouse which we can stick some greenhouses on. Let's go and have a look at that in the menu right now. Following the same vein as the grapes and the olives, we need to jump into the construction menu, and then we're going to go across to production and down on the second menu to greenhouses. And as you can see, we have three different sizes of greenhouse. I use my mouse here. We have the small, medium and large. Pretty self-explanatory, I must say, at 3,000, 5,000 and 10,000 respectively. So what I'm going to do is I am going to plop down one of each first, and we'll just have a look and see what's what. So if you can use the R and L buttons to rotate. I'm going to just keep this one fairly close to the road. There we go. Pop that there. I shall drop a medium one just there, and then let's grab big old beastie, and if I can just squeeze that in, perhaps I'll give myself a bit more space. I'll pop that there. Okay, so this is looking good. As you can see, we have different sizes. We have, in effect, 8 raised beds, and then many more in here. If I was to count, let's say 2, 4, 6, 7, so 14 in total, and then a lot more in here. So just depends on quite how much you want to do. Right, I will go and turn on the screen indicators just to give you guys a view of what you'd see with them on. So if I go down to, here we go, interactive marker zones, and we will turn those on. And there, now we can see above the water butts on each of the different greenhouses, we have an icon which clearly indicates water, and then inside we have our tools. So we can go in, hit the left stick, and that will bring up our production chain. So the key thing about the greenhouses is that actually they're part of production chains, and they operate slightly differently to how they used to operate in FS19, whereby fundamentally they were in effect cash flow machines. So you'd create crops and that would generate you a consistent cycling daily or hourly income, which this can still do, but there's just a little bit more complexity to it, which makes it a little bit more interesting. So with that in mind, I'm just going to jump back to my mouse here. In this small greenhouse, I'm going to activate tomatoes. So I can scroll down. You can have all three, or you can just have one type. Depends on, entirely up to you what you want to do. We could put tomatoes in each one of these greenhouses. And there you go. We can see that they appear straight away, and they actually start as wilted plants. So it gives you an indication that you do need to water these. Let's just go through this adjoining door, and then we can go out the back. So you can see these greenhouses are quite nicely put together. And again, we have tomatoes in here. I'm going to adjust that so that we can have, let's just do something different. Let's do strawberries in the large one and lettuce in the middle one. And just while I'm in the big one, I'll show you what it looks like when you've got mixed crops. So in each raised bed you have 1 lettuce, 1 tomato plant and 2 strawberry plants, but that's mixed. So you can see there's a variation here. We've got 2 lettuces, 2 tomatoes, and so on and so forth. I personally prefer to keep things all the same, but then I do have OCD and I do tend to always try and have a bit of a process. But for now, let's turn these off, keep strawberries on, and we can see here exactly what's required. So we know that we need water. There's no fertilizing or anything else going on here, it's just water, so nice and simple. And our output will be 128 units worth of strawberries. And if we scroll up, we can see, depending on the size of our greenhouse, the small one will produce 32 units of strawberries, medium 56, and then large 128. But obviously the input required in terms of water is going to be greater. Right, let's come out here. I'm going to jump into my little electric tractor here. This riggy track. Good fun. And I'm just going to hook myself up to the Bowser. So this particular Bowser is the smallest water Bowser. You can find it under the animals section underneath the equipment. And I'm just going to fill this up. So I'm going to head over and I'm going to draw up alongside, and then I'm going to hit the left stick just to fill. And once we've done that, all we need to do is draw up alongside the water butts at the end of each of the greenhouses and in effect just fill them up, and you'll see instantly the plants inside will change. So let me align myself. Actually, I'm going to take a wide angle here, just pulling up alongside, and I'm going to instigate filling up, and you can see straight away those plants have suddenly become lovely and lush and green, and so now the growth has begun, and these plants will mature, and then they'll mature into larger plants, and then they'll start to fruit, and then that is very much an ongoing process. Move forward, and then we'll fill up these as we go. So in here we have cabbages. No, sorry, lettuce. They do look the same at that stage. Let's close the door, keep the heat in. Run round the back. Make sure we keep everything nice and warm. Close these up as well. And then we'll just fill up the last one. And there we go. I've just accelerated the time, so time will start to whiz by, and hopefully any minute now we will start to get some growth here, and we'll start to see some fruit appearing. And alongside each of the greenhouses is this, actually you can't see it here because of the level of the ground. If I step back, we have this hatched area, and that's where the crops end up. Okay, things are growing, that's for sure. Our lettuces are not producing anything just yet. However, over yonder with our tomato plants, we already have one pallet. Can't see many tomatoes on the plants, and we will do later on when things start to really get going. And I'm just going to run myself over here and we will see. Fantastic. So what it appears is that strawberries definitely grow quickest and crop and harvest far quicker than lettuce. Lettuce being the slower of the three. So we have here 3 different speeds of cropping, and that's kind of reflected in the price as well. So you do end up receiving more money for crops which take longer to grow. And what you'll also find is these bays will fill up, and then you won't receive any more pallets until you start to move these out of the way. However, interestingly, in this version of the game, as opposed to FS19, you used to get a warning come up, and it used to tell you that there's no more space for crops, and that would be it, or no more space for pallets. Whereas now, if we are to move these out of the way, I'm just going to pick this up by hand. If we move them out of the zone, we'll find if there's a backlog, turn the speed back up, it will just start to fill those up. So it almost kind of buffers the strawberries, buffers your crates. There we go, there's one that's just popped into being. Still no lettuce yet, but we do have some strawberries. Okay, let's have a look at the difference then between how this works compared to the previous version in FS19. If we pop into the production chains menu again, what we can see, if we click on one of our crops, we can see that we have storing set by default. And what that means is that it's creating pallets of fruit and veg and it's stacking them outside. And obviously, as I mentioned, once that fills up, you won't see any more until you make space for more to arrive. However, if we come across here, we can either click or we can go across using the D-pad, and we go down to tomatoes, we can change the output mode. So if I hit X on the controller, sorry, A, we can change that to selling, and we can change it to distributing. So if we set this to selling, and I'll do the same on the rest, lettuce, let's change that to selling, and for strawberries here, set that to selling. What we'll find is actually we will generate an income. If we jump up to the prices, then you can see that you do typically get more per yield for lettuce than you do for tomatoes, than you do for strawberries, which makes sense. If strawberries are growing quickly, then you can create more of them, therefore the price per item is generally cheaper. So you do have to create a fair whack of strawberries, probably enough to feed the whole of Wimbledon, in order to actually make any decent money. However, the interesting thing is that some of these can be used in production chains. We'll come back to production chains shortly, but for now let's go and have a look and see what's been growing outside and how we're getting on. Well, here we go. You can see already a rack of pallets, and that's in 1 day's worth of growth. We are doing reasonably well with our 3 different crops. Let's have a look again at prices, because now I'm curious to see what we can do with these crops. Lettuce, it appears that lettuce and tomato we can only sell directly to Le Jardin des Familles farm shop. I apologise for anyone who speaks French, my terrible French accent. But strawberries we can sell at the farm shop, but we can also take them to Deschamps Bakery. In which case, let's go and purchase the bakery and see what new production chain we can start. This is us down here on the map, and I believe this here is the bakery. In which case, let me grab my mouse to just find it easier. Yeah, I think we should take a trip up there in our little pickup, and we'll go and purchase and then see what we can do. And here we are. So this is the bakery here. I believe if we pull up on the right hand side here. Yes, okay. So we have the the dropping off area. And so we'll head here. And we're going to buy the bakery for 50,000. Right, let's have a look at what we can do. Let's go down to production chains and see if we have unlocked some new chains. Great. So bread obviously is just a case of flour, which we're not interested in for the purposes of this tutorial. However, we can now see that they take strawberries as well as many other ingredients, and the output is cake. Now it looks like they have a lot of strawberries, 3,823. But let's go back to this menu here, our large greenhouse, and we're currently storing, so we're outputting the strawberries to the side on pallets, which we can see right here. But if we go and switch strawberries to, let's change the output mode to distributing, what that should mean is the 56 litres of strawberries that we currently have, slowly creeping up, should hopefully appear in here. And I think only time will tell. I'm going to speed up time and just see what happens over the next 24 hours. See you momentarily. Okay, so that's been approximately 7 hours of in-game time. Let's go and have a look at the situation. So our literage, our output of strawberries has definitely increased. We're up at 118 now. And let's jump down to the cake output from the bakery, and we can definitely see that the incoming materials, strawberries, has definitely increased. I'm just going to turn on strawberries here and actually remove lettuce, and I'm going to set those to selling as distributing as well. I'm going to do exactly the same thing here, and let's go across and change that to distributing as well, and just turn off tomatoes. So all three greenhouses are now outputting strawberries. So we have no litres there presently, no litres there, and 120 from the big one, and currently 4951. I'm going to skip forward to tomorrow, and let's just see where we are once we've skipped forward by approximately 12 hours. Okay, so it's now the next day, and in that case it's the next month. We're currently in October in terms of game time. I am going to go and jump into that menu and see what's changed. So our strawberries are absolutely maxed out, and I suspect that's because we're not bringing in any of the other ingredients that's required to make a cake. So the bakery quite literally is over ordering on strawberries. If we go to here, then we're distributing 1,400 litres there, and that's from the medium greenhouse. The large greenhouse is on 3,300, and even the small one is up at 813. So you can see how this really does start to ramp up over time, and this can be a really nice way to automate your production chains and your processes. So particularly for cakes, which are a bit more complex, once we've got ourselves grinding out flour and creating sugar from sugar beets, milking our cows, grabbing our eggs from our hens, and obviously butter from cows as well. Once we have all those in place and we have those various byproducts distributing themselves to the bakery, then we should be outputting a fair whack of cakes and end product. Well, I hope that was useful, everybody. Take care, everyone, and I hope to see you soon. I've been Adam, and this is Crimson Banshee Gaming.